control the audience. I'm going live now with the YouTube. What's up, everybody? Well, probably nobody right now, but we'll be shortly.
Yeah. Take a couple minutes probably, but one thing that also wasn't in there, Rusty, and I know you haven't been paying attention to this the way I do because I listen to the afternoon drive, the 3 to 5 p.m. 2 hours of 680 The Fan, and one of the really cool things that they've been doing is they set up a PlayStation 4 to dial into their YouTube channel and simulate what would be the Braves' regular schedule. And so, it's been fun. The games only take like an hour and 15 minutes because there's no commercials. They cut all the time between innings. Like even when a guy hits a home run, they'll show him get excited, but then you see him cross the plate. They don't like show him rounding the bases. It's actually pretty cool. I mean, it's way more realistic than you ever would have imagined, just like this whole iRacing thing. It's just obviously the computer is deciding based on the stats and previous capabilities of the players how the game's going to go. But it's worth talking about just because I wanted to talk about how NASCAR was first to the punch on this whole simulation thing, and then every other like major sport marketing department and probably the execs were like, oh crap, we may be missing out on an opportunity here, because if NASCAR can get 1 million people to watch a fake race, maybe we can do something with this.
Yeah. I'm still just doing some what do you call it, some administrative junk right
Administrative
now.
IT.
Yeah. Jumpy Bob is on. Lap traffic. What's up, Brando? Brandon,
I knew Brandon was going to be here. Kansian said he was watching the 2008 Pocono 500 in preparation to join us.
Nice. I was just we were just flipping through the channels a little bit ago and saw the 88 race from Phoenix was on. I think it was on FX1 maybe, which was Quickie's first win. Not sure if it might be over by now, but.
Oh man! All right. Well, I was going to say I might look at it, but I currently have Fox Sports on, and they're replaying a game from last year against the Padres.
Okay.
Charlie Culbertson just scored to make it 3-1 Braves.
Charlie Clutch. That's my guy.
Nice.
Love Charlie Clutch.
Yeah, he seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's exactly as you see him, just a really, really good, nice guy, and somebody you want to root for. Absolutely.
Well, and he's a Braves country guy, right? Isn't he from Northern Florida?
Yeah, no, he's from I believe the Rome, Georgia area, if not Rome itself.
Wow.
I think he's a Georgia boy. I might not be 100% on Rome, but I believe that's where
they
he's
play
from.
some baseball up
Gotcha.
in Rome, out in Rome, wherever we call it, up and out.
I don't know why I got the idea. Okay, well that's even better. We
Yeah.
love Georgia boys around here.
We definitely do.
Chase is a big Braves fan.
There's Waylon
Chase
on the chat wall.
Braves fan.
Oh, Brad Harrison says Calhoun, I think. Yeah, that's not too far either.
Calhoun, yeah, that's that's where one of the biggest tornadoes that's ever hit Georgia went through. What was that, about 15 years ago, Rusty?
Something like that, yeah.
Cut a swath that looks like a cow pasture, and it all used to be trees. Like, what?
Did you see a picture on Twitter of the ones that went through just recently? There's like a house that was a whole house sitting in the middle of the road. Like,
I saw that.
That was crazy.
Murray County I think is where that one hit.
Yeah. All right. Well, y'all ready to do a podcast?
Yeah, that was scary, at least from my perspective, because I was listening to the Well Read Guys podcast, which they recorded during that storm, and Corey had to drop off because he and his wife had to go into the basement.
Yeah.
He's in Chickamauga, and they were being told to find the low spot in the house with no windows.
Yeah. Yikes. All right, let's do a podcast. How about that?
All right.
Right on. So, Ricky, I know you know this. You've been on the show a few times, but just as a reminder, I will drop off for about 90 seconds
Gotcha.
as I'm recording all this crap. And I have no, co-host to hoot and holler with me. So in the studio as we're doing quarantine, so I kind of have to hoot and
shuts,
holler, and then
it shuts off for me too. So I have to be quiet because I've screwed this up a couple times.
It's been
got
fun.
you, man.
All right, well, fellas, here we go. I am recording now. Welcome, y'all! This is the Pre-Game Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 239. Tonight is Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm all alone in PTM Podcast Studio in quarantine, week number 5. We'll bring on the guests here in a moment, but you know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month and get that free koozie and some stickers. Best part is every cent this year we're once again donating to sponsoring drivers. Join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show, as always, brought to you by official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Here we go. Aaron Bearden, Robert Kemlinger, Coleman McClam, Eric Kemner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, John Bob Les Miller, Julie Boston, John Pearson, Eddie Grid, Third, Younker Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knappett, Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chanana, Rick Houston, Sarah Ambari, Evan Roller, and Brad Harrison. Woo! All right. This is the part where, like, usually I get the congratulations for doing the one breather. So it was a one breath night. Bring on my partner in crime here, co-host of the PTM podcast, Pre-Game Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Skew! There's my yell.
Yeah. You know, it's almost like in golf, like when you're all alone, you shoot like a 78, and then you're out with your buddies and you shoot 110. And so here I am. I just shot a 78 on that intro, and now and there's nobody to hear it. And y'all, by the way, when that's going on for some reason, because I can't figure out all the sound panel crap over here, but while that's going on, the guests or anybody who's on the phone with us can't hear. So everybody has to just kind of be quiet for a minute. But there you go. All alone by myself, and it worked. So at least it's recorded. You can hear it later.
Well, so is that the same thing for amateur golfers? Is that the same thing as getting a hole-in-one? If you shoot under 80, you have to buy the beer at the clubhouse?
Sure. I'll buy the next round.
All right.
Put it on my tab next time we see you. Tonight's guest, he is a senior in-game coordinator and host and producer at the Atlanta Braves, hence the hats that me and Sherwin are wearing, co-host of the Maskcast podcast with his dad, Rick Mask. He's on Twitter at Ricky Mask. It's Ricky Mask. What's up, Ricky?
Gentlemen, hey, I am also, you can't see it, this is a Braves hat I'm wearing as well. I don't know if the folks can see it, but there's the state of Georgia with the American flag in the middle and my Braves logo on the side. So all three of us are rocking the number one baseball team hat out there tonight. So beautiful. I love it.
That's awesome. I bought one of those from, what is that, like Georgia something or other? They put out a whole bunch of merch, and I bought the one that's got the Georgia flag on it. It's a gray one with the state of Georgia. I can't remember what the exact entity is right now, but I got one of those. But we figured Braves was the way to go since we got a Braves guy here.
Yeah, you know what? I've been my whole day today has been spent in front of the computer. Well, kind of my last month has been spent in front of the computer. I'm sure, like you guys and like most other people. I mean, what a odd time that we're living in. But it's interesting. I don't know about you guys. With me working in baseball and in social media and digital marketing, I swear I think I'm working more now than if we were actually playing baseball. And I'm not complaining because I love my job. I mean, just today. Myself and my co-host with Behind the Braves podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. We interviewed Braves Hall of Famer Terry Pendleton, talking about the life and legacy of Jackie Robinson, because today is Jackie Robinson Day. He broke the color barrier this day in 1947, so it's a pretty special day on the baseball calendar, and in my opinion, on the American calendar. And so we recorded that, and then about an hour after we wrapped up that, I had a one-on-one video interview with John Smoltz to talk for some other projects we've got coming up. So I had a little interview with him, and now I'm on with you guys. So This is the new world we're living in. Everything's being done via video conference. All the meetings, all the podcasts, everything's happening here. All the sports are happening via video games.
Right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now.
It's a wild deal. I think mine is a little bit different in that I work in software for hospitals, so I have been very busy, as it turns out, lately. But going on to the hat, man, I have not seen that hat yet, and I'm digging it. So I know the PTM Posse knows it. I'm wearing a different hat every day of quarantine, which is showing me how many hats I have. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but I think I have 20 hats as of today. I have 20 hats remaining, which means however long it's been, 3.5, 4 weeks. I guess we're on week 5 of PTM quarantine here. So, that's I've got too many. But every time I say, it's one of those things, you see a hat and you're like, well, I got to have that hat, of course. And then
Well, now, if the quarantine lasts more than the next 20 days, then are you going to start ordering hats? Are you going to take like donation hats, or what? How is that going to work?
Well, so I've got about 10 ridiculous hats, right? So I've got like the giant foam hat. I've got the Rico Abreu mullet hat. I've got Santa Claus hats. So I'll have to switch those. I've got cowboy hats, straw hats. So we've still got. I've probably got, and it's only weekdays because it's while I'm working. So I've probably got another, I'll say, month and a half worth of hats, maybe 2 months worth of hats. After that, I don't know. I'll probably just shave my head bald or something because my hair will be down to my shoulders. And, got to do something. Ricky, we hadn't got to it yet. You know how we start the show every time. What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper, so I'm really going hard tonight. Yeah, that's. I'm drinking the good stuff tonight. 23 flavors.
That stuff's really good with Captain Silver Spiced rum, as it turns out.
That's what I hear. I might try that here in a few minutes.
Yeah. Sean, what are you drinking?
I almost feel bad that I didn't. I probably should have thought it out a little bit more and not just wear a Braves hat. But I should have worn the hat because I went on Chase Elliott night, the one that he designed with the 2 cross tomahawks and the big old Napa badge on the side. I should have pulled that one out of the cupboard, but I got this one, so we're good.
Dude, those are nice. Those were nice. Chase came to the ballpark last year and sat with our head of Braves Creative, In-Sung Kim, and they designed that hat together, and then we gave it away at the gates. And then actually we went up to Charlotte leading up to the 600. I think it was the weekend between the All-Star race and the 600, and interviewed Chase at the Speedway leading up to that hat giveaway. And we had a bunch of those hats on the table, and those hats are – the Napa hat giveaway is always a popular day at the ballpark, and I thought Chase, the way he designed it, it was unique, and it's a sharp hat.
Yeah, well, and just to piggyback that and help people understand that don't necessarily know about why Napa might be interested in sponsoring Chase, they're an Atlanta-based company, as is Hooters International Incorporated. They're also based in Atlanta, so it makes sense for both of those groups to be partners with Chase. Chase from the same place, right? Austin Bill from Dawsonville and Chase from the same place.
So a coworker of mine has a black hat with the black Atlanta Braves A on it. Like it's black on black, which you might think, well, that's kind of silly, but it almost makes you go, wait, there's something on your hat. What is that? Oh, it's a Braves hat. Sweet. So, I can dig that too. It sounds like I've got a shopping list of hats. I probably just need to go on Amazon. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll just order 5 at a time every week to get ahead. As far as quarantine goes. Speaking of quarantine.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Rusty.
No. I was segueing. You're still there.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to say that sounds like one of those hats that was a part of that whole New Era / Foot Locker movement where they did the same color on the same color.
Could be. I didn't ask him. He had a sweet jersey on, too, though.
They did a whole bunch of those.
Yeah. So, Ricky, speaking of quarantine, how is your quarantine going?
Well, as I was saying when we first signed on here, I try to be positive about everything. So I've taken this opportunity. When it looked like we might be quarantined for a while, I left Atlanta and came up to Virginia to my parents' house. My sisters are home from school now. Obviously, they're both working on their master's degree, so they're home. Mom and Dad are here, and I'm here on the farm with 60 acres, and I kind of felt like if I was going to be quarantined somewhere, it might as well be in the mountains. On a river with a bunch of land to go out on. So, and living in Atlanta now, which I love with my job, but I don't get to see my family nearly as much as I'd like. So, on the bright side of leaving, I wish we were playing baseball. I wish we were having races every weekend. I wish we had our normal life going. But on the bright side for me, I'm getting to hang out with my family. Got to spend the first Easter I've spent with them in 5 years. So it's going great as far as that goes. But the flip side of that is I am ready for us to get back to normal life. I'm ready for sports again. I knew how much I relied on sports because that's pretty much all I watch. But I didn't really know until this happened, because it's like the other day we were watching replays of old spelling bees on ESPN, and I'm not joking. Because that's like what else was on. So that, and then I watched Tiger King, obviously. But once you get past that, it's like, all right, let's just see what they're filling the void with sports. So there's been some fun we're having, though. We're replaying some old Braves games on our social channels and having some fun with that. MLB organized a MLB The Show tournament. Each team has a player representing them, and they're playing against each other, and they're live streaming it. So I rep Luke Jackson. He actually played last night. I was working with that last night, and I had to learn about Twitch first during the day, so I knew what to do with it once it started last night, and then how do you record a clip from Twitch quickly. So I had to go through all that yesterday in advance of him playing last night, and I was tweeting out some highlights of that. But that's actually been fun. It's been cool. I think kind of like the iRacing deal. It's given some guys a show. Well, at least for us, our guys are having fun with it, or showing off their personality. They're reading the chat with the fans, and a guy like Luke is self-deprecating and can take a joke. He infamously gave up a grand slam on opening day last year. We had him on Behind the Braves last year, and that was like one of the first things out of his mouth. He's like, every kid dreams of giving up a grand slam on opening day. And whenever fans give him a hard time in the chat, he just laughs and gives it back to him. And it's been a fun thing to see. So we've got things like that going on, and just, social media hasn't stopped. We're still serving as that bridge between the team and the fans, just like every other sport, just like NASCAR is. So staying busy, to be honest with you. Again, I'm enjoying time with family, staying busy, trying to get creative with how we fill the void online and with marketing. So overall, it's good. And on the serious note, I'm an employee of both Major League Baseball and the Braves, and both of them have really stepped up to the plate. No pun intended. With I know I said it and I was like, oh crap, that's going to sound like a pun. I really didn't mean it.
And they hit a grand slam with it. No strikeouts here.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right. But they've both stepped up, and all of us full-time and part-time employees, they've guaranteed us. The commissioner guaranteed us through May, which is with the way things are going right now. It's no small thing. It's very much appreciated by a lot of us out here that they're finding ways to make sure we're staying employed like we would during a normal season. So I got no complaints, man. I'm just riding it out.
What's the latest from MLB in terms of plans, or are there any plans yet, just because we don't know when we're going back, or have they floated anything that sounds interesting? Because, NASCAR is talking about doubleheader weekends and weekday races and stuff. Is there anything at least interesting that people have been floating?
Oh, there's interesting stuff floating around. There's absolutely nothing official, nothing decided on. I think every now and then a story will come out where we're hearing, well, this is a possibility or that's a possibility. And what it amounts to is I think everything's on the table, as it probably is for every sport. And so some of the rumors, and again, we don't know anything like this. I don't think anything.
Oh, we love rumors.
Yeah. But there's been one idea that was reported on, was that all 30 teams would at least start the season out in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, at the spring training sites, and play each other. There was another report of, okay, the 15 teams that play spring training in Arizona, they'll go out there and play. All the 15 teams that have spring training in Florida will go down there and play each other, and there'll be division realignment just for this season. And but MLB has kind of come out and said, listen, nothing's been decided on yet. We're still trying to figure it out. And I don't think anybody can, until we kind of have some direction, or not direction, but just some light at the end of the tunnel, and we kind of have some firm plans. I know the PGA Tour, I don't know if that's become official or not. I saw that report that they're looking at coming back June 11th. So maybe that's a good sign or a hint. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty much just trying to avoid the news about it. Every morning, it's become my routine. I go and just check a couple of different sites that are just collecting the raw data on everything, where I can see country by country, state by state. I can see all the different charts broken down because the media part of this, both sides of it are kind of driving me nuts. I think they're presenting the way they want you to see it. And I'm like, all right, for me to keep my sanity during this, I just got to look at just the data. And as long as I see that curve forming and when I'm starting to see the downward slope coming into play, then I'm like, okay, let's take it day by day. As long as that slope keeps going downward, then eventually we'll get there. So no, MLB, there's no, I think NASCAR is in a good position, hopefully, to come back. I mean, I think, my personal opinion, I think all the sports are going to come back at first with no fans, at least for a while, which, let's be honest, at this point, I would take that just to start out, just to get things going again. I think NASCAR could be one of the first to come back, if not the first to come back. I mean, I know you got the crews that are around each other, and that's something you have to be careful with. But as far as the competition, the competitors, it's obviously they're not going to – it's pretty easy to keep them apart because they're not on a field or a course where they're actually touching each other. So, I do like NASCAR. It seems like they've kind of got a decent idea of what they're going to do. You mentioned with the double headers, the midweek races. And I think it's interesting that some of the stuff we talked about before all this, or that we bandied about, like, well, what about a Wednesday night primetime race? What about some double headers? Well, there was already a double header scheduled for this year. This might give them a chance to try out some of these things and just see how they work. So, again, being that glass half full, Pete, positive guy.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I think this is, if there was ever a time to try something different, particularly in NASCAR, now's the time to do it because you basically have carte blanche. Like, we want to see a race. Okay, let's run. Maybe we only run 250 cup laps at Martinsville on a Wednesday night because it's so close to where all the teams are. They can go in one day. They could be a grand total of a 2-day show in terms of getting there, getting set up, having a practice and a qualifying and running the race. And, people will just be happy that their heroes are on the racetrack in race cars going vroom, vroom. And I don't know that we'll necessarily care if it was only a 250 or a 300 lap race, however they might go about the way they do that. And then restructuring the schedule so that, all right, well, if you race on Wednesday night in Martinsville, then, the next place you probably should go is somewhere also within a normal amount of driving distance. So call it Bristol for the weekend, or Richmond, or, Atlanta even is, those guys they don't even stay overnight in Atlanta. They fly back home. Oh, yeah. We know because we've stayed over there by the airport and heard all the damn planes leaving and coming in. So, obviously that's not necessarily available for truck drivers and Xfinity drivers, but it certainly is for the Cup guys. So, yeah, I mean, I hope they get as creative as possible with it because it could lead to some wider scale changes when we're not dealing with this nonsense.
So I find baseball interesting because I feel like, in NASCAR, all right, let's do because we only do one race a week, we can start doing 2 races a week or 3 races a week, or like you're saying, one in the middle of the day or in the middle of the week. And whereas baseball, they pretty much have a game every night anyway. And so how do you fit in any more? Or, even if you start talking double headers, now you're talking about pitching rotations. Is this guy healthy enough? Is he ready to pitch right now? Instead of a 5-day rotation, if you're talking about a 3-day rotation or 2 or something crazy, could be wild. So I think Major League Baseball has some almost physical implications to go along with it, Ricky.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing. Again, back to that everything being on the table theme. I think that double headers are very much a possibility. And if you have double headers, maybe you have 7-inning double headers as opposed to 9. I think roster expansion this year we've had 25 men on the active roster for forever now. This year it was already, before the pandemic, it was already expanded to 26. This is a deal where I think that now you got to expand the roster to probably 30, maybe more, depending on how many games you're trying to pack in there. I don't know. And specifically for those reasons, pitching being the biggest part of that, especially if you get the season started in a hurry. Pitchers can only pitch so much and can only be stretched out so much. A starter that's usually going to go 6 innings or the first couple of the weeks of the season, maybe can only go 3 or 4. So yeah, I think all those things are going to be on the table. It's the same in every sport right now. In every sport, whether it's NASCAR, baseball, whatever, I don't think you can. No, it's that old thing of no idea is a bad idea or a stupid suggestion. Right now, I don't think there should be. Like, just put it all up, throw it all up on the wall, and see what works. As hopefully the news continues to get a little bit better, and that light at the end of the tunnel gets a little closer, then you have enough of these ideas out there that hopefully some of them will actually work and you can put into action. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're going to have to deal with in baseball. But again, I think everything is being discussed to help us get back on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. I would imagine that at least the day-to-day roster would expand to at least 30, but I think they would also probably suspend that. When you get sitting down, you have to be gone for 10 days. I think that will probably get suspended. The 40-man roster will be available on a 24-hour basis every day. And then they'll figure out how to manage that from there. But, yeah, I mean, hey, get creative. That's what problem solving is all about necessity. And right now, it is necessary for us to solve problems.
Yeah, exactly. So, Ricky, you mentioned Tiger King. What else are you binge watching right now? Anything on Netflix, Hulu, etc.?
No, that's been the main thing. I did order a gaming computer, and my steering wheel just got here yesterday. So I've been so busy today that I haven't even had a chance to hook it up yet. I'm literally, when we hang up here, I'm probably going to go downstairs and actually hook it all up. I know my buddy Tim Duggar he and I were tweeting a little bit, and he's like, "Come on, Ricky, get on here," and that's what I'm planning on doing. So I'm planning on filling up some of my spare time with getting into that world a little bit. So yeah, I've kind of spent this time just learning about some new things. I mean, I joked about learning about Twitch yesterday, but it's been kind of cool. Like in the social media world, it's given me more time to these things like TikTok and Twitch are keeping me somewhat young, or at least makes me feel like I know what the youth are out there doing and talking about. So, been doing a lot of that, but no, the Tiger King thing, that's been the only thing I've really binged. Other than that, I mean, I've watched, like a lot of people, last weekend, I watched the replays of the 2004 Masters and last year's Masters, which was great, with Jim Nantz talking with Mickelson about the 2004 win, and Tiger on Sunday with his win last year. That was awesome. Watching, I'm a big Virginia basketball fan, so I've rewatched all the tournament games.
Oh, lost Ricky there for a moment. It is what it is right now. Sherwin, you got me? Or are we all stuck?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
Ricky, you still there? Yeah, there he is. Yep.
Sorry about that, guys.
In the times that we have.
You blipped out for a second. It's all good. So if you and Rusty's probably heard me talk about this ad nauseum, but if you really, really thought Tiger King was hilarious, there is an opportunity to binge watch a recap commentary of it by some comedy guys that we've had on our show. They do it on their YouTube channel. I can point you to it later. It is certainly, I don't think you got any young kids running around your dad and mom's house. No. It's one of those things where if you can throw YouTube up through your PlayStation on your big TV, like I do, they do about an hour and a half of commentary on every show, which means they do about double what the original content was. But it is really funny watching them sort of break this thing down.
All right, well, you got to send that to me, because I think I'm probably going to be back in Atlanta next week. And when I do, my girlfriend, she's still down in Atlanta, and she's definitely a big Tiger King fan like I am. So she and I can binge the recaps of Tiger King, because we like a lot of people, it's a guilty pleasure, but we can't get enough of that stuff.
Well, it's a nonstop train wreck. And,
oh, yeah.
I mean...
Fantastic.
So you mentioned watching Twitch, and I had almost like a proud moment 2 weeks ago, I think is what it was, Sherwin, because you said you had texted over to me. You're like, "Oh man, Bubba Wallace just rage quit. I was watching his Twitch," and I know that was kind of in passing, but I was like, "Sherwin's watching Twitch. What kind of new crazy world are we in?" that's going on.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
that's funny.
It's been wild watching all this stuff, this esports stuff happen. I knew esports was big. I guess I just never really had the reason to jump into it. The iRacing thing is something I've been interested in just trying for the last couple of years, and just finally now with being home all the time, I finally just decided to take the plunge. But it's a whole different world out there, and like I didn't know, I'd never heard the term rage quit till the Bubba thing. So now that's part of my vernacular. So yeah, it is we're learning all kinds of things in this new world we're living in.
Yeah. Well, I was watching the FS1 broadcast of it, but I also had like Bubba's personal up on Twitch, because you don't actually have to be a member of Twitch. Anybody can click on a link that somebody posts and you can just watch that.
Like YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, it's just linked to their personal Twitch, and you can listen to them talk during it. I mean, I heard him say, "F it, I'm done." And a lot of people got mad. Obviously, Blue Emu got mad, but he was going to be riding around the back without getting any airtime anyway. So he'd already used his resets, so he was going to be riding around in a broken car, trying not to get lapped 78 times. So I don't know why they made such a big deal of that, but obviously it did become a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. So Ricky, before I switch topics, Sherwin, I have picked up a show. Which is rare for old Rusty. I usually give up in like the first 3 episodes or something. Just I don't know. I just see a bird and wander off, and I'm like, "Ooh, look at that!" So, but there's a show called Money Heist. Have you heard of this one?
That one I have not. One that I got into and then somehow sort of forgot about. Maybe the Tiger King thing just struck my fancy, but it's one with the guy. What was the Powers guy that was on like the semi-pro softball team? I can never remember the right name, but it's called the Righteous Gemstones, and it is hilarious.
So Money Heist. It's all in Spanish. It was a Spanish production, and
Gracias.
Yeah, gracias. And it was what was I trying to say? Oh, it's like Ocean's 11 except in a series, and it's actually really good. I've enjoyed it. So if you're at all interested in that type of stuff, have a watch on the first episode, Money Heist. I think it's Casa de Papel, meaning like paper house is what the Spanish version is, but it's called Money Heist on. I think it's on Netflix. Pretty darn good. So
Is it? I guess obviously it's subtitled.
Yeah, it's all subtitled. Because I speak a nominal amount of Spanish, and I can't understand it because it's the Spain, Catalan or whatever Spanish. So, never really, not a whole lot of that around here in the U.S. So, it's kind of funny. But yeah, good show. Anyway, Ricky, we've been talking. I'm all proud of myself. I got in a show. Ricky, we've been talking every week. Obviously, not able to eat out and all that so much. So anything that you've cooked recently that you've been proud of?
I haven't cooked a thing, and I've eaten everything. That's the advantage of being back in Mom's house. I have not cooked one thing in a month, and yet I've eaten more in the last month than I think I have in the last year. So I'm going to come out of this quarantine weighing about 4 bills when it's all said and done. Oh, gosh, let's see. We had meatloaf tonight. We had hamburgers yesterday. We had pizza. We had a Low Country Boil the other night. That's just the last few days.
Wow.
I mean, and then there's cake. There's just cake. I've been eating cake for breakfast, like different kinds of cake for breakfast.
Sounds like, Rusty, we need to get in the truck or the car and head on up to Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know that it's good for your health, but man, it sure is fun. It tastes good. So I'm enjoying it while I can. Nothing in particular. I'm just enjoying the home cooking.
So Serena, my wife, found beef tenderloin on sale at Sam's. She's doing like a once a week grocery run. And so we had filet mignon the other night with like macaroni and cheese because that's what I wanted. That was I think that was my weekly meal that was especially good. We made some spaghetti that's just made a huge pot of spaghetti sauce and from scratch and been using that up. Had some of that tonight. Sherwin, what you ate?
Well, since we talked last week, I decided I was going to learn how to better use the big green egg as an oven.
Nice.
So I did a frozen pizza over the weekend, which turned out pretty good. It's interesting the flavor that the chunked wood charcoal will add to a pizza. And then I actually did another one, a little small one, today for dinner.
Nice.
Same thing on the big green egg. So it's, I hadn't got super adventurous, but, going to the grocery store is still pretty easy to do around here. I like to have things like avocado and fresh tomatoes around where I'll just cut that stuff up and just eat it.
Yeah. So Publix sells, and Kroger probably does now too, but Publix sells like pizza dough that they have made, and it's not like in the shape of a pizza. It's just a blob of dough, and so that you don't have to spend the 2 days or whatever it takes to actually make that. And then you take that and you can put anything you want on it. I've done that once or twice on the egg, and that has worked out well. It's cool because you're like you're straight out of Castaway. You're like, I have made pizza.
Right. Well, Johnny's Pizza now, which is an Atlanta chain, a New York style thin crust pizza, which is really good pizza, and they'll let you call them up and order a make it at home. So they'll give you a wad of dough and then whatever toppings and sauce and cheese you want, and you just make it yourself.
Huh, that's cool. I might have to look into that. That would be a fun weekend project because I've got so much going on weekends now. Like, what day is it?
Yeah, no kidding.
So, Ricky, how's the old man doing? How's he holding up? I saw y'all had y'all resurrected Masscast for one time at least about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was right when the quarantine stuff really had started, and I think we're planning on recording some more before I leave and go back to Georgia. We haven't had a whole lot of time. Believe it or not, he's still been pretty busy and out working and whatnot while practicing safe social distancing, or at least so he tells me. But yeah, he's doing well. He's already gone to bed, hence why he's not here with me right now. So he is, in fact, an old man, as you just said. But
I didn't mean it that way.
No, he's still working hard. No, I'm kidding. I call him my old man, too. No, he's doing well. He's hanging in there, working hard every day. And so, yeah, he's doing well. And he still likes to get on the tweeter every now and then, as he says. And I'm going to make him try, before I leave here, I'm going to make him try the iRacing thing.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, you got to post a video of him playing that thing.
I'm absolutely going to, because he's been very skeptical of the whole deal. Not in a malicious way or anything, but at first he was just when they showed the first race a month ago or whenever it was. I was telling him about it, and he's watching it, and I could just he wasn't saying much, but I could just kind of see he was just sitting there looking at the TV like, okay, whatever, like, I don't know about this, that kind of thing. And then I told him, I'm like, Dad, you realize they had 950,000 people watch this thing? He's like, what? And then the next week I said, Dad, you know they have 1.3 million people watching this thing? He's like, and he's just so then he went from skeptical of just kind of being like bewildered by it. And so I'm going to make him try, and I will take video of him trying it. So I have a feeling I'm only going to get one try out of him, but I'm going to make it happen, and I will post that on all of the socials when it happens.
Please. So, dude, that's going to go viral.
Let me ask you this. Yeah, it will for sure. Will they allow in iRacing, would they allow him to run a number one Skull car, or is that still is the whole tobacco sponsorship thing, does that apply to iTunes or no?
I don't know. I would just, if it does, then I would just do the old trick of like, I'd make it Skool, SKOOL or something, do one of those.
Just misspell it slightly.
Yeah.
Know what it is.
Yeah.
SKOOLE or something.
Yeah. Back in the day in 91, when he first was driving that Skull car and they had the little die-cast car, of course you couldn't put Skull on those. So they did the paint scheme, and then they put his associate sponsor at the time, where it was like a gas station chain, Magic Market. So they just put that logo like on the hood and nothing on the side and all of that. So maybe I do that, but I think I'd just misspell Skull and hopefully get away with it. I don't know. I don't really know what the rules of it are. Again, the computer and the wheel are sitting downstairs still in their box. So I'm literally going to set it all up tonight and start getting it figured out.
Well, you could put the white and green on there and then spell it SKOL, and everybody will think y'all are Vikings fans, and it'll be fine.
There you go. See, there you go. That works.
Yeah, right on. Well, speaking of video, the next Masscast, I think you ought to publish some video on that too. That would be pretty cool to see y'all kind of side by side. I mean, how many times are you going to see you two together, doing the Masscast? That'd be cool.
Yeah, we've only done what, two or maybe three together in person, with me living in Atlanta and him still up here at home in Virginia. So yeah, we definitely need to do that. And we had made a pledge when we came back that about a month ago that we were going to start recording Masscast again regularly. And the joke when we do the show is that it's always my fault, and half the time it is my fault. But the simple, boring truth of it is both of our schedules are just such that he's busy during the day when I'm not busy, at least during a regular baseball season. And then the evening when he's not busy is when I'm at my most busiest, because that's when baseball is being played. So we just kind of got away from that last year. But I honestly, if we've had enough people tweet us wanting it to come back, but selfishly and personally, I miss doing it. So hopefully we'll start doing it, especially once the season starts up again and we have regular races to talk about again. Maybe we'll hopefully we're going to work on making our schedules sync up a little bit better if we can.
Well, so while we're plugging podcasts and whatnot, I think the podcast that you do with Greg McMichael behind the Braves is awesome. I love it. I mean, I know not everybody that's listening to this or watching or will listen are Braves fans, but it's really cool because you guys get a bunch of great guests through the Braves alumni group and that sort of thing. But the podcast that Dave O'Brien and Eric O'Flaherty do is also really, really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of Braves podcasts out there, and I think that there's enough. I think what DOB does with Eric O'Flaherty, they've got their thing going, and people that follow the Braves closely know DOB's personality, and Eric's got a great personality. So, if you're a diehard Braves fan, there's any number of shows and I think you can pick more than one. It's like NASCAR. You guys support other NASCAR podcasts. You don't have to just pick one. So I think what we do with Behind the Braves, it's the official team podcast. So it's just going to be a different flavor than some of the other ones, but we get a lot of great guests and we have a lot of fun with it. We've been at it now a year and a half or so. And it's wild. I was just talking with somebody the other day. I remember being a kid on the road with Dad in the Cup Series in 93. And this is right before everybody had motorhomes and all that. I mean, we were still staying at the Days Inn or Holiday Inn or wherever near the track. It was that era. And we watched Braves baseball on TBS when we were home from the track at night. And I still remember Greg McMichael's first appearance as a member of the Braves, his rookie year in 93. And I was in a hotel room. I want to say it was Darlington, but I can't remember for sure, but I think it was Darlington. Where we're watching it at the hotel, and Skip Carey, the Braves announcer at that time, the legendary announcer, is talking about this rookie. Greg McMichael had this amazing spring and made the team unexpectedly. And how could I know as a little 10-year-old Ricky at that point that 25 some odd years later, I'd be hosting a show on something called the internet with that guy that I'm watching on TV. So it's wild how life works out that way sometimes.
Dang, certainly is.
Yeah. Dang, that's cool. So, Sherwin, I don't know if you saw this, but another, I guess, I was going to say notch on the bedpost, but that might not be exactly PC. But a cool deal that iRacing is doing, and this kind of, I don't know why I didn't think about it, but sure is cool that they are resurrecting North Wilkesboro and releasing that in June onto iRacing. Depending on how long this whole thing lasts, I might see one of the, what is it called? The iRacing Pro Invitational deals?
It's a Pro Invitational series.
Yeah. I thought that was very interesting and could draw a viewership. Even if we're back, if they do it one weeknight on a FS1 or something, that would be super cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to happen, and we can all thank Dale Earnhardt Jr. for that. He was the motivation behind getting the track cleaned up and getting it scanned and getting it loaded into their system and ready to go. That'd be the second time that he has been very instrumental in this whole internet racing thing because, as we discussed before, and I don't know if you saw this, Ricky, or not, but you know, Fox was kicking around the idea of doing this whole what if we broadcasted one of these things? Would it work? So he called Junior up. And he said, "You think this works for television?" And Junior goes, "Hell yeah, it does." So next thing you know, we have a race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read a quote from him not too long ago, and I can't remember it exactly, but basically he was talking about how when he got a computer at some point in the 90s, Dale Sr. told him he thought it was a waste of money. And he said something to the effect of he wishes he could still tell him, that, hey, I was right about this one. I could see it coming on this one. So, yeah, he's been a big support. It is that's another cool thing about that whole iRacing deal is that I can still kind of see a race at North Wilkesboro and Rockingham, which were two of my favorite places to go when Dad was still in it and we were on the road. Rockingham in particular was just, I love that place and always will. And I don't think we'll ever see it come back on the Cup Series, but a boy can dream, right?
Right.
Yeah, I watched a couple of those truck races that ran there. Obviously, that didn't pan out. They didn't get the amount of attention they needed to keep doing it. But I can remember, and Rusty, you won't remember this because I had that side-by-side char griller with the kicker smoke box. That was like my pride and joy. I built that whole grill while watching Casey Kane win that truck race from the back of the pack, the very first one when they went back to Rockingham. So I'll always remember that. But yeah, this is, like we said earlier, you got to get creative, got to find something past the time.
Yeah, and I'm infinitely jealous, Ricky, that you got to experience those tracks. That's super cool. One other thing going on that I saw the news for, I hadn't even thought about it, but saw the news that Jimmy Johnson is considering or reconsidering his retirement. And, at this point, that kind of makes sense if you want to run a whole season or something, or even if we run a quote-unquote full season of racing, it's not exactly a season of racing. So interesting, I thought, Sherwin, that, seeing him thinking about postponing retirement.
Well, so the thing about that to me, the thing where it gets really, really tricky is what they, how many balls were already in motion behind who was going to get in that chair. Mm-hmm. And the more things that I've consumed from people that I respect their opinion, it looked like it was all set up for Brad Keselowski to move over to that car next year. Mm-hmm. And so you would presumably think that the balls have been in motion for a while with Hendrick, which means the balls have been in motion for a while with Penske because they probably all know what's happening there. And if Jimmy does decide to stay for one more year, where do those balls land? Do they just freeze them and say, okay, well, this was a weird thing that happened, so we're just going to, we're going to change our course for a year? So I'll be interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Yeah. Ricky, is there anything in the baseball world that, personnel-wise, people are reconsidering? Have you heard anything like that?
I haven't. I'm more interested to see let's just say, I think we'll play baseball. I think we'll have NASCAR back. I think we'll have sports back at some point in some sort of revised fashion for this season. But if I'm wrong and we don't have baseball this year, I'm kind of more interested to see. There were some moves made. There's guys that have signed one-year deals. Well, with the Braves, they signed Cole Hamels, starting pitcher, and Marcell Ozuna, both on one-year deals. So is it possible you're going to have guys like that sign for 1 year with the team and never actually play for the team? Perhaps more interesting than that, a team like the Dodgers trade for Mookie Betts from the Boston Red Sox, who is one of the best players in baseball, an MVP. He's in the last year of his deal. So could it work out that they traded prospects and young players for one season of this guy to go for a World Series, and then he never actually plays for the team? So there's just all these different things like that. Like you kind of said with the balls in the air, I'm kind of like, I just wonder, how is all this going to shake out? I mean, how do you – the logistics behind all of this stuff, behind all these sports is just mind-boggling to me. I can't imagine what the decision makers are going through right now with all this because there's just so many different things. And silly season in NASCAR, it's always been called silly season for a reason. It's going to get super silly if we have this revised schedule and it's packed in, or if we don't even have a season. I mean, it's going to be crazy to see how it all shakes out. I tell you, if we do get back to playing sports and we're racing again and all that, it could be like the opposite of what we have now, where we have nothing, and then suddenly we got like, hey, it's the Masters this week, and it's the NBA Finals, and it's the Coke 600. I mean, it's going to be crazy to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, well, I think at least the Masters have already planted a stake,
right,
in the second weekend of November, which is going to be interesting because sometimes we have great weather in November, but it's also the third or fourth wettest month in Georgia, and those of us that have lived down here for any amount of time know that Georgia is a subtropic state. It rains a lot here, particularly once it starts getting cooler out. I think the thing that I'm most curious, or not curious about, but along those same lines that you said is, MLB's already come out and said that no matter what happens with this season, everybody is going to get the same service time they got last year. So to your point, anybody that signed a 1-year deal this year is not they're not locked down for next year with the team that they're currently sporting the uniform of, and that's got some pretty serious financial implications for lots of teams. I mean, the Dodgers probably the most, but certainly the Braves too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's for the Braves, it's okay. That money is now freed up, and now you've presumably invested in other free agents, or maybe you bring those guys that you signed to 1-year deals. Maybe you bring them back. Maybe you put some of that money towards your younger players. Maybe you extend a guy like Freddie Freeman. I don't know. For a team like the Braves, it does it change things as much? I don't know. It's just more, to me, it's just more interesting just to see how it shakes out. And when I saw that rumbling about, Jimmy might not be done yet, I don't know. To me, that seemed kind of like a where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing. Mm. Like, I know he was talking about doing the IndyCar thing, trying that out a little bit. But, me personally, I'm a Jimmy Johnson guy. So I would love it if he came back for another year. But, we'll see.
I fully expected him to be entered into the 2021 Indianapolis 500. But if he's racing NASCAR, I don't think that will happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and maybe, this is an opportunity where a guy like Kyle Busch says, I mean, he probably plans to race another 8 or 9 or 10 years, but maybe he tries the double next year just because this is a weird way for him to get a lot of exposure to Indy without damaging in any way at all his NASCAR career. So it'd be interesting to see if some of those things take place. I would think that it would be very challenging for Rick and all of Hendrick Motorsports to tell Jimmy he can't come back next year, but it also may hamstring them on where they can go next, and then Rusty and I joked a few weeks ago about, before all this other stuff we're going to talk about later went down, that if I was Rick Hendrick, I would have had a contract written up and say, this is how much I'm going to pay you, and this is for how long I want this contract to be. And one of them's name would be Ryan Blaney, and the other one would be Kyle Larson. Mm-hmm. And show up at both doorsteps and say, whichever one of you signs this first is going to be in whatever the 48 becomes. I suspect that they'll go back to the 25. We don't need to dissertate on that, but just out of reverence for Jimmy, that they would probably suspend the 48 number for a while, but they didn't do it for Jeff. So they may not do it for Jimmy. I don't know.
Yeah. They don't really, as we all know, they don't really retire quote unquote numbers or make too sacred one, which I think is interesting and cool that, you can pay homage, but, bring it into the next century or bring it into the next generation, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and the 5's still out there too. Yeah. I mean, they changed Chase's number to 9 in order to sort of just put the 5 on the shelf. But that's the original HMS number.
Yeah. So before we let Ricky go, I wanted to play a little game called Guess the Twitter Account. And so the latest tweet was, have the happiest of birthdays, Loretta Lynn. From honky tonk girl to living legend, you are the queen of country music and our hearts. Have a wonderful day. Now, that might not give you who it is, which Twitter account it came from, but Sherwin, this one's for you. The first response, what about Brad's wife's birthday?
Oh, man. Cracker Barrel.
So
Getting
Cracker
on in
Barrel.
there. Now, can I make a guess first before we tell Ricky about this whole Cracker Barrel thing?
I don't know what there is to guess. You already guessed it right.
No. About who would have sent the Twitter. So you're saying Cracker Barrel sent it? Duh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
I had a brain fart.
Right. Cracker Barrel sent the happiest birthdays, and the very first response, what about Brad's wife's birthday? So, nice work. Cracker Barrel is back. Ricky, have you heard about this phenomenon?
I'm going to be honest with you, and even though it's my job to be all over the Twitters, I missed this one somehow.
Dude, I missed this one for 3 years, and it is a gold mine. We tell all of our guests who we've been keeping up on this, you're going to be on Twitter for the next 8 hours. Forget the iRacing setup. You're about to have the time of your life. So evidently, Cracker Barrel, at one point 3 years ago in 2017, some Cracker Barrel store let go of one of their employees. Well, that employee's husband, his name is Brad, and Brad went on Facebook and wrote this tirade. Why did you fire my wife? I need to know, blah, blah, blah. And we don't know her name. We just know it's Brad's wife. And it, for some reason, went viral. And so for 3 years, on every social media that Cracker Barrel has, if they post something, there is a string of people asking about Brad's wife. And he had said something like 11 years of service. And so you'll see that on everything. Just go on Cracker Barrel's Twitter, click any tweet, look at the first comment. It's going to be about Brad's wife, and it's fantastic. You will laugh yourself to death.
That is right up my alley. I'm all about the little Twitter inside jokes like that. We had a similar thing with the Braves fans last year who created the Tiger Woods memes, and that was a season-long thing, and it was always just if you were in on it, knew about it, you knew where to go and when to go to look at the replies, whether it was the Braves tweet or the team they were playing's tweet, and just reading those replies, and sometimes it would get up in like over 1,000, and then you would just laugh yourself silly. So that is right up my alley. I'm going to check that out.
Please do. You're going to have, like I said, it's just going to bring you joy. Show your dad. He'll love
I will.
Well, Ricky, we've about run out of time with you. We appreciate you being on and everything. We've had a blast, and good to hear that you're able to make it up there with the fam and get outside. I live in a townhome in Atlanta, and so it's it gets a little claustrophobic after a while. But that's it's awesome to have that.
Yeah, I love my apartment in Atlanta, but it's a 1-bedroom and it has no balcony, just windows. So I was like, when I thought I was going to be trapped inside for a while, I was like, I better go to the farm. So I'm enjoying it. And but hey, I'm looking forward to getting back to normal life and getting back to Atlanta. And hopefully when we don't have to be practicing social distancing anymore, the three of us can tailgate again at some games down at Georgia Tech this fall. That's my hope. Hopefully it'll happen.
Like fun. We have both renewed our season tickets, so we are in whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, when the Wahoos come to town, I'll be there.
Right on, man. Great to see you. Enjoy the quarantine as much as you can. Thanks for being on.
I will. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Brother, see you.
Thanks,
Oh,
Ricky.
man. Awesome. Ricky Mast, everybody. What a cool dude. Fun to hang out with. Just, and I think we all crave this. Just sit around, talk NASCAR, talk baseball, and drink a beer. Sherwin?
Absolutely. I mean, it's basically necessary at this point.
Yeah.
This is about the only way we have to interact with one another. I know a lot of people are like us. Of course, I missed it tonight, but are doing the whole virtual happy hour thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fun apps that you can do with that. For those out there wondering, how do I get to talk to my friends? Well, check out apps like Zoom and Skype and Hangouts, and just set it up. Just be the one to take the charge and say, all your friends have smartphones now. So you can do that. You don't need to be sitting in front of a laptop with a headset on like me and Rusty are right now, or a microphone or whatever. You can do it right there on your phone. And as long as you have a good internet connection, you can see all your friends. Y'all can have a drink together. You can talk about, whatever it is y'all talk about. But do it because, it releases endorphins, which are necessary when, especially, you live by yourself like I do, or even, Rusty lives with his wife and, sometimes you just want to see somebody else.
Well,
and you're not really allowed to do that right now.
There's only so much, like me and the wife don't talk sports, right? I mean, you got to have outlets somewhere. We don't break balls with each other.
She's got her whole host of hobbies that, you support as you should. And I do as well. I think it's great, all the stuff that she does, but it's not something that you're interested in being involved with. So.
Right. I think that's the thing. I don't have anything in common. I'm interested in it because she's interested in it. So it's fun to hear her get excited about stuff. But like you said, it's not something I'm into. So it's just kind of a one-way conversation at that point. Anyway, so we have a new studio light. So once we do get back into the studio, dude, we've got this whole thing. And I know you can't see me right now. You might see it on the YouTube on like the 10-second delay. But there's a remote for it too. So like I can press this button right there, and it turns me dark. And then back on, and boom, there it is. So that's pretty fun, and it has like different colors too. Ooh, that looks blue. That one's kind of yellow. And that one's back to white, and it goes up and down in intensity. So I've been having fun with my light lately, but we'll be able to light ourselves up a little better. So that's fun. Yeah.
I see. There it's finally coming over on the YouTube.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, we got to talk about the elephant in the room a little bit. Seems that
I promised people on the Twitter and on the Instagram that we would, so I felt like we probably should do that.
Seems that that Larson has stepped in the muck a bit. I'll tell you what's first off, what's surprising to me is a guy that comes from the drive for diversity and all that stuff. I guess disappointment in that, he should be at the forefront of the diversity aspect of all everything that's going on in racing. And so, just a bit disappointed there. And then just this kind of snowball effect of, iRacing's not going to let him back in. That's bringing a lot of attention. If you search Google News right now for NASCAR, what should you be seeing? You should be seeing that Talladega coming up in, I think, next week or something like that is when it was planned, or the racing results from last week and all that. If you search NASCAR on the news on Google News right now, this is the only thing you see is the Larson thing. That's like the first 15 stories. I actually had to click through a few times until I saw like the Jimmy Johnson thing, for example. So it's it couldn't come at a worse time too in terms of NASCAR's exposure and all that right now. Just a bummer. I don't know what else to say. What do you think?
Well, it comes on the heels of what should have been, despite what we're all dealing with, should have been a huge win for NASCAR with this iRacing stuff and generating some tremendous TV numbers and just being excited about the fact that, our favorite sport, or maybe not favorite sport, but definitely one of our favorite sports, had sort of got something figured out ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have to fight this national and some of it international attention of, well, everybody knows this is what NASCAR is. And it's like, you and I have been fighting the good fight for the better part of 15 years, trying to say, look, when we go to the racetrack, we don't run into these people that are whatever this stereotype is that everybody thinks a NASCAR fan is. Because the reality is it's a much smaller group than you think. And we don't really see it. We see a whole bunch of people having a good time drinking beer, inviting you over to their campsite to, eat a low country boil or have a hamburger and whatnot, and just collaborating around the idea that we think loud race cars are pretty awesome. So I'm frustrated by that aspect of it, mm-hmm. that perhaps there has been some setback in the court of public opinion, but I'm also I'm very disappointed in Kyle, obviously, because we all know, anybody that's got a half a brain on them knows that there are some words that don't fall under First Amendment protected status from a court of public opinion perspective. Yeah, he's not going to go to jail.
Right.
He's free from prosecution, not free from persecution. Now, we've seen what the result of making that mistake means, that, one of the best up-and-coming racers in the sport is now doesn't even have a chair to sit in.
Yeah.
Nowhere. He can't sit in any chair anywhere right now.
Yeah.
Well, the World of Outlaws have come out and said that we have a specific set of guidelines that we expect him to follow during a certain amount of time frame, and we'll allow his team and even him to return to the racetrack. Well, he's got a whole other bag of tricks he's going to have to try to figure out if he doesn't suit the right people with his behavior, because he no longer will have any factory support from Chevrolet, which he used to have Chevy badges all over his race cars, and this, sprint cars. And so, I guess overall, just a lot of frustration around. Here's the thing, and I'm with everybody that has said the things that they've said. I read Ryan McGee stuff, Bob Pockris, Jeff Gluck. They all said a very similar thing, at least in some case in point within their editorials, that this isn't a word that accidentally slips out. It's a word that's in your vocabulary, and that he didn't recognize that's not a word that needs to be in your vocabulary. And the fact that he obviously has a friend group in which that word has been wildly acceptable to use. And I realize you can get in a bubble when you're in a circle of friends, and you can say things within that circle of friends that you can get away with because they're invested in you personally. But the fact that nobody said to him, hey, you may want to try to work that one out, right. Because it could lead to exactly this. And you said it best to me, I think, the first time we talked about it, is always assume, the way media people do, that every mic is hot.
Right. And
the other thing that I would say is there is no comparison to what is a live, albeit virtual, live, we'll call it sporting event. It's reality television, the real unscripted reality television. It is not art. So it is not acceptable to compare what he said to what gets said in a movie, or what gets said in a historical documentary, or what gets said in a song, or gets written in a book that's trying to represent a particular period piece where and a group of people where that language was part of just their culture. So we're in 2020 now. Kyle wasn't born until 1993. That word was already unacceptable then. It's way less acceptable now. And I hate it for Chip. I hate it for all the sponsors that had to, very quickly figure out how they were going to manage this process. I hate it for a guy who's clearly talented, doesn't seem to have a mean bone in his body, but somehow managed to capitulate a situation with the worst possible word that you could use.
Yeah. That was very well put, well said. So, yeah. No, I hear you. Well, I'm ready to move on at this point from that piece. Anything else on that?
No, I think we said we were going to give our opinion. We gave our opinion. There's no reason to just bury ourselves in the quicksand over it. We're all going to see what happens next. I think most people probably want to see a redemption story. I'm certainly hoping for a redemption story.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm reminded of like when Brian France, got the DUI and stuff, and you're like, oh, great. This is, exactly what NASCAR needs, sarcastically, obviously. So, it's similar, like, oh, great. This is exactly what NASCAR needs right now. Like, it's almost a holistic view here of, we got to stop making these blunders that further that stereotype.
Well, it would certainly be better if we headed out of this whole virtual world thing, and the only thing anybody was talking about was Bubba Wallace rage quitting a video game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Sherwin, let's talk Richmond. We've got virtual Richmond coming up.
Love Richmond.
Yeah,
Love
buddy.
Richmond.
Yeah, buddy. And I know I've talked about it before. I've driven on that track, and there's video of me somewhere driving in one of those run what you brung thing, and I'm screaming NASCAR, woo! And I did not know I was being videotaped at the time, so I'll have to see if I can dig that up somewhere. But anyway, yeah, Richmond. Well, let's see. You had the last time we raced, you had Timmy Hill. I had Alex Bowman. Let me think for a second. I'm feeling Dale Jr. at Richmond, so I'm going to go ahead and pick Mr. Jr.
Well, let me stop you right there.
Uh-huh.
Dale Jr. is not entered in the race.
Oh, super. Well, that's going to be a tough pick then, isn't it?
Well, if you so I took a picture
I haven't looked
Bob
at the entry list.
Pockers's tweet with the entry list.
Ah, okay.
Let me run it down for you really quick. There's 26 cars. Let me pull the picture up. Doodly doot to doot.
I'm going to see if I can find it quickly.
Crap. My pictures are... You can probably find it faster than me the way whatever this weird picture thing is. It'd probably be easier if I went just straight to the camera.
Why isn't Junior running? Oh, it says it right here. Bob Pockers. This event only limited to 26 drivers. Those spots should represent full-time Cup drivers. Hope to get back. Ah, well, interesting. Let's see. Nope, et cetera, et cetera.
Michael McDowell was pretty unimpressed.
I got it.
With it.
Kurt Busch, Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, etc. This is interesting because this is a who's who list from the really from the Cup Series. With the Timmy Hill and Garrett Smithy. I feel like I could pick them, but that's kind of like the if I pick them every week, how stupid is that? So. I think was it Byron that had the win the last week? That's interesting. And Denny won the at Daytona. You know what? How about Ross Chastain? He's the little engine that could in every other place. So let's pick Ross for me.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I've been distracted because I've been trying to find this picture and I don't understand why I can't. Because I had somebody in mind that wasn't Ross.
Okay, I can run it down for you. Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ty Dillon, Clint Boyer, Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Matt DiBenedetto, Joey...
Oh, I remember who I wanted to pick. I decided earlier this afternoon. I want John Hunter.
Oh, John Hunter. Yep, he's down there. John Hunter. How much fun is this, actually, that we get to pick these kind of off-the-wall different type of drivers, too? So that's... for me, that's part of the fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, folks, we've, I hope y'all have enjoyed it. We've been in an hour and almost 10 minutes now, but having fun, man. It at least satiates my need to talk NASCAR, whether or not half of this is even NASCAR at this point. But, having our fun, and we'll get to talk about Richmond next week. So, Sherwin, tell the folks where they can find you, and I was going to say what's coming up next, but we know what it is.
Yeah, so... you can find me at Pregame Engineer. That's my personal Twitter handle. Obviously, you know what our podcast handle is. So you can find me at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram. Our Twitter handle and our Instagram handle are exactly the same. Still working on next week's guest. Got some irons in the fire.
Sweet. Well, we'll look forward to that. With that, let's bring on Sydney to close us out. Y'all know what the deal is. You can find us, PETMpodcast.com, at PETM Podcast on the Twitter handle. And as always, Rusty Wallace, at Tailgate Mayor. And looking forward to next week. Looking forward to Richmond. Get back, watch some racing, do some grilling on Sunday, have some fun. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see y'all next week. Have a good one. Revving engines get to roaring, fans are screaming, drinks are pouring. We are NASCAR. Drop the flag, foot on the gas, and let's go, 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 go. And it's full throttle, it's wide open, it's cold beer bottles and good times rolling. That's a wrap. Ladies and
Yabba dabba
gentlemen.
do.
Yabba dabba do. I love it. Oh, man. That was fun. Ricky is awesome.
Yeah, he certainly got a lot of practice with all the different things that he does with speaking. So he's not short on word, which is exactly the kind of guest that we like to have. We don't have to poke or prod him. He just has a lot to say, and he's had a lot of exposure to things that we like race cars and Atlanta Braves.
You know, it's funny. I talk about it sometimes about guests who, when they come on, I can just write about, I don't know, 5 lines of not even 5 lines, like 5 lines of 3 words each of just prompts that I need to, hey, we should talk about this, we should talk about that, as it comes up. And Ricky's one of those that, as a co-host of a podcast, it's very easy and reassuring. Oh, Ricky Mass is joining. Okay, I don't have to write a hour and a half long spreadsheet of interview questions or anything. So, yes.
I was just Casey said that I was swiping on Tinder while we're like, no, I'm actually trying to pay attention to the YouTube feed, but I appreciate it, Kenson.
I don't know what would be a funnier joke right now.
I was actually on Grindr, but no.
I don't know what would be what's a funnier joke if I were to be like, and Sherwin's just sitting there swiping yes, 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 or if the joke is he's sitting there going no, 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 no.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't mess with Tinder anymore.
Oh, man. All right, let's get this thing uploaded and in all the places and all the things and yada, yada. New post. Oh, you want me to log in? I saved that password. It's logging in. Why is our website being slow? I don't know why I'm asking you this, but...
I don't know. We're still on YouTube?
Yep.
Not that I'm going to say something crappy. I just was going to say that one of the irons in the fire is Jimmy Means.
Ooh, well.
So I'm trying to get that lined up for next week, but I don't know that I will be able to, but he has said yes. So
that's awesome.
It'll happen eventually.
That's awesome. Well, PTM Posse, you would be in for a treat with that. And we'll be in for a treat. Hell.
Yeah, a lot of history with Jimmy, obviously, as a racer and now a team owner. Mm-hmm. There's a wide range of things we can discuss with him when we get our opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Woo. Sweet. What's going on there? Oh, yeah. Swiping on Tinder. Yeah, that's funny. Matthew Todd says Jimmy Mean's been blowing up on Twitter lately.
Yeah, he's become extremely active. That's where I got the idea. This was a couple of weeks ago. I just sent him a reply and I said, would you like to be on, a fan-based hobbycast kind of deal? And he said, yeah, send me a DM. And I was like, you got to open them up to me for me to be able to do that. And then he followed us and
boom, Bob's your
sent
uncle.
a DM and said, hey, here we are. And he said, this is the email address you need to contact. And I'm, okay, shot him an email.
I'll tell you what's wild, y'all, is, and Sherwin's obviously doing all that part of it, but Sherwin, he ggets giddy sometimes. He's like, I have Kenny Wallace's phone number. I'm like, man, that's cool. So
this is all true.
Yeah.
Both the giddy part and the fact that I have Kenny Wallace's cell phone.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, man. Let's see. We are almost done exporting that file. Do all the stuff. Put it on the internet. And I'm out of beer. That's the problem.
It's funny, obviously most of it's all replay anyway, but after they replayed whatever Braves game they showed from last year, is they're doing like a wide pan on a casino because they're doing the poker stuff. And I'm like, yeah, there's nobody in that casino right now. Right. Not one person.
Not a soul.
Not anybody. I've seen that because I follow plenty enough people with the podcast handle who are from Vegas. Mm-hmm. Talk about how it is the weirdest Walking Dead shit they've ever seen in Vegas. I mean, just nobody anywhere.
I imagine.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody there.
Yeah, and that's a bummer. I love Vegas, man. Vegas is so much fun.
It is a bummer because you start to realize that, well, that whole town was built on tourism.
Yeah, and entertainment, and
it's,
being outside,
it's a big,
being around a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, what do they call that when you? It's not being on retainer, but a residency. All those residencies that pack a hall the size of the Tabernacle every night. 7 days a week.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, like Penn and Teller or the any of those shows.
Spears did one. Larry Cable, the guy's done one. I mean, obviously we know about the ones that have had a 30-year run at it. Of course, I can't remember the name of the singer. What's the guy that has been there for 30 years? Probably.
Oh yeah, shoot.
Got the leather face.
Yeah. What the hell's his name? Why can't I come up with
it? Something Wayne, right?
Wayne Newton. Yeah, Wayne Newton. Yep.
Wayne Newton. There
you go. Jeez. Is he still kicking? What's his deal? Wayne Newton. I'm Googling.
I think so. I think he is. I don't know that he's still doing a full-on Vegas residency, but I don't think he's not dead.
Yeah, he's only 78 years old. I mean, only, whatever you want to say there. But apparently he's still doing a show, too. So, booyah.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of that, and 78 is the number that reminded me. John Prine, man, hats off.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Another victim of the COVID.
Dude, hearing the people that are succumbed by this thing is it's the great equalizer. Nobody is obviously nobody is immune in terms of literally, but even figuratively speaking, everybody's on the same playing field at this point with this stuff. It's crazy. Hell, the British Prime Minister just about kicked the bucket from it.
Yeah, well, and the comedy guys that we tend to pay attention to are really worried about Michael Yo because he was super close, and he was in his late 30s and in great shape. Now, he came out on the good side of it, but it was real touch and go there for a few days.
Yeah, it's a weird deal, man.
Well, and did I tell you this last week? One of the local guys that I listened to on the radio, his dad, 78, and he died last week.
Dang.
After getting a very good report. 24 hours after getting looks good, Dad.
Yeah. Ugh. That's
kind of the way it went with Prine. He got it appears to be stable, and then the next day he was dead. That sucks. Hearts go out to anybody that's having to deal with that stuff. It's kind of trivial when you think about that. Just us sort of whining about not being able to leave the house that much and not getting to see our friends and stuff. But there are definitely plenty of folks out there that are facing a very much more gruesome situation than we are.
Yeah. It's funny, refreshing the feed that we have. Usually it goes just fine. Right now it's we're too busy right now. Sorry. Oh, okay. Well, I guess everybody's doing a podcast tonight. But it looks like it's already up.
Oh, so yeah. Jumpy Bob said Frank, presumably he means Sinatra, and Waylon said Cher. And yeah, there's a lot of people that have done. Oh, yeah. And Roger brings up that Carl Anthony Towns, star at Kentucky and the Minnesota Timberwolves, prized piece. His mother died earlier this week, maybe Sunday or Monday. I can't remember which, but that sucks.
Yeah. I don't know what to say, man. It's, I guess, other than, like I said before, the great equalizer deal. And the reason we sit here and do this podcast, trying to get away from it a little bit, just have some fun and enjoy ourselves during all this freaking crazy serious time. So glad we get to do that and hang out with some folks for a little bit and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, well, thankfully for this technology that this is something that we can do, and we don't have to go to a studio actually to make this happen. Hell, even all the radio stations, this is what they're doing. The guys that I listen to in the afternoon from 3 to 5, they're all at home except the guy that's on the soundboard. He's the only one there.
Yeah.
And everybody else is at home. Program director might also be in studio, so there's maybe 2 of them there. But it's nice to have this. It's nice for all the people. I'm very happy for all the people that maybe used to go to the office every day, but they have Skype or Zoom or however they're doing their business, and it's kind of business as usual. I think it's interesting what Ricky said about maybe working more now than ever before, but one of the things that I tried not to get caught up in, and I'm sure you the same way, is when I worked from home for 5 years straight. And, you have to be able to compartmentalize the fact that your office and your home is the same place.
Yeah.
And so people will make bad assumptions that, well, it's 6 o'clock and we know he works from home all day, so I'll just call him.
Yeah.
Well, no, at 6 o'clock, no.
Yeah, right.
Now, if you ask me to schedule a meeting at 6, I will call in and we'll do the meeting. But if the day is scheduled to end at 5 and the work is done, I don't need you calling my cell phone.
Right.
Or Skype. We were basically told that we had to put Skype on our cell phones in case we left the house. And, so I had Skype forwarded to my cell phone. So even when I wasn't sitting at my desk, I was still accessible. I tried my best to sort of keep that to the normal threshold of what a regular desk type job is.
I think somebody on the live stream heard me say I'm all out of beer, and texted my wife and said to bring me a beer. So now I have a beer.
I can only imagine that was Waylon.
Yeah, she said she would have brought a Smirnoff Ice if she had one.
Or a Zima.
That's funny.
Actually, I like Zima.
Now I have a beer. Well,
that worked out pretty good.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
See, magic of technology.
Sweet. All right, y'all. I think we're going to shut this stream down. I'm going to enjoy this beer. So we'll see y'all next week. It's going to be a fun one.
Never did ask me, but I've got one of these tasty Miller Lite long necks.
Oh yeah, I was trying to ask you, and we were all, that's the only thing with not being in the same room is that we talk over each other a bit more, and that's almost impossible to get over when you're online. And so I was trying to ask, hey, Sherwin, what are you drinking? And then somebody spoke up, and I was like, oh, I'll shut up. And then we ended up on other topics. So interesting ordeal.
Well, we, like we talked about with the whole, trying to find something to binge watch on Netflix. Look, squirrel is definitely a problem we both have. Look, squirrel.
Yeah, look, squirrel. Yeah.
And you certainly, when a guest is on a roll, you definitely don't want to shut them up.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole point of doing this.
Well, folks on
everybody gets to hear us every week.
Folks on the YouTube, appreciate you being on. We will talk to y'all next time. And thanks, Waylon, for, sending the beer. See y'all later.
Yeah, we really appreciate y'all.